Greetings, one and all. Thanks for joining me. This is Strategic Sage welcoming you to Creeper World 4 launch. Exciting stuff as it's been over 4 years since the last game in the series, which was Particle Fleet, and over 7 since Creeper World 3, which is generally considered the pinnacle. If you're not as familiar with this series, it's basically a blend of RTS and tower defense. Check out the links in the description below. I've got playthroughs of the previous games, including the demo from last summer. So here's what we're in for. We've got the Far Side Expedition. That's essentially the story or main campaign. We'll get to that soon. Chronometer, daily mission challenge. You can't enter different dates, but the current date of your computer or going back 4 days previous. So you have a little bit of history there. And these are of maybe moderate to slightly above difficulty. And of course, this is only December 2nd as I'm recording it. I really need to send a big thank you out to Knucklecracker for giving me a bit of early access to the game. It was very kind of them to do that. So we've got Span Experiments next. And these were missions that were made during development. It is very much like the Alpha Sector from Creeper World 3, except for there's not nearly as many of them, but there's still quite a few. Some of these, I think 4 of them, like Before Time and Day of Infamy, Shaka, etc., were part of the demo, but there's still over 20 that were not, and therefore are just new to the public at this point. Then we've got the Mark V Random Mission Generator, and these can vary in difficulty from very easy to absolutely impossible. You can just take a random code here for your seed and adjust the various controls of difficulty down below, or you can put in whatever else you want. You can use numbers, you could use any phrase, no matter how sensible or ridiculous, and all of that will work in here and create a new map for you. And you've got some basic stats up there at the top. Then we have colonies. Now this is the custom maps, and this is really where the Creeper World games come alive. We've got 25 maps already. By launch there'll probably be a couple more. Certainly I would imagine within a couple weeks this number will begin to explode. There's thousands of maps for each of the previous games in this series. I'm sure we'll get there soon. All kinds of filters. You can see, how many people gave thumbs up to the various maps, what the size is, basic preview, all of that. And then the mission editor, you can create your own. I'm not really going to go too far into this because it would reveal things that I'd prefer not to reveal until we get through the story. But you can just set like these various controls. There's limits on how big it can be. Then you go into create. You can import even terrain data from maps in Creeper World 3, which is a really nice feature. And then at the bottom, most of this is self-explanatory. Recordings, any recordings from the in-mission recorder that you've done of maps that you have played. Loading, basic settings, you've got the various video, sound, you can do all your key mapping here, all the visibility options that you want in the game, graphic performance, all of that fun stuff. So we're going to get to the story here. And this is kind of an interesting little trail here. Going any further, there's 20 missions in the story, and going any further down here, you have to complete the prior mission to unlock. I don't know if all of these are unlocked if you didn't play the demo, because I think it unlocked all of these as having been completed because I had already done them in the demo. And for those of you who have seen the demo, yes, the beginning of this is going to be a review, but a few things have changed, and I will be getting through these as quickly as possible, getting to the new, not previously seen publicly missions, hopefully this weekend. So we have 09 Leo 266, the eve of humanity's greatest journey. And then we can see scores that have come in recently for the different conditions. And let's get to it. Themistocles, of course, is an Athenian leader from the Greco-Persian War era. Was that a dream? Okay, so we are playing Danu J. Saloy, Director Hale, Chief Scientist. Of course, we'll recognize the names from previous Creeper World games. But this message is not particularly respectful. The real heroes around here will be sure to enjoy the launch party, and we're supposed to go do a sim. I'm not particularly a big fan of all this clicking you have to do to type out this message, but we are definitely running our mouth to Director Hale. We have an attitude. We have a sense of entitlement. Even though we are a junior scientist on the Rift Lab backup team, which is not the most lofty title. Scientist is definitely impressive, but comparatively. Okay, we need to learn our basic controls. I like using the mouse options for these. And then here's the camera reset if we ever get the camera way off whack. And we have a briefing. Director Hale has requested us to do more things in addition to the cache purge. Wants the lights on at the launch site so the visiting dignitaries can see clearly. Build a tower to power the lights. I mean, you can see that they're really rubbing our faces in it. Hale is really rubbing Seloy's face in this scenario. And also, why didn't they plan ahead for this? Activate experimental soylent fields. System override action not recommended. Then why were we given this prompt? In any case, yes, we're going to do it. We're going to have an attitude. We're going to be obstinate because we must. Yes, I know it wasn't supposed to be done. I did it anyway. So they're all producing energy. Energy status in the top left. Your tasks are now complete. That's all that's up here. It shows the graph of everything. What we're making, what we're using, what's in storage. Well, this doesn't look good. Meteors with likely ground strikes. What are Condition 2 protocols? Rift lab now decoupled from the base. Lab bulkheads are closed. Brace for impact. We can see them landing over here, and we have this blue goo emerging, which of course is Creeper. They released something that is spreading across the terrain. Move the lab to the launch site. None of the crew is there. We have to do this ourselves. We're very flustered. As you might imagine, things are blowing up. Let's get a move on then. Right now, our objective, as you can see, is just to survive. Now, one element that's interesting, and it will pause when I do this, is going on the info here. This is your basic various help screen. You can go to the online documentation. You can scroll down, look at all of this. Basic controls, resources. Then we have our base units, only currently the Rift Lab, and the tower to get Soylent, and everything in the green produces energy. But what's a good improvement here, I think, we can even move this around if we want to, but a good improvement over the previous games is having this populate as you go through the campaign, as opposed to having it all listed there at the beginning, sort of as a spoiler. So I really like that as an increase to user friendliness or usability. Relocate the mining cannons. They may delay the progress of the material. Well, it's nice that we have these around, and if you played the demo, you'll notice that we actually have more cannons here. They made this even more user-friendly. There were a couple ways that you could soft lock this on accident, and they prevented that from happening. I'm just going to move you over here. Let's see, perhaps there. Just trying to spread out a bit. None of this, of course, is strictly necessary, but why not optimize a little? So, we're just kind of waiting and seeing if we're going to be able to hold this off. Have to save the lab and yourself. We've got to jump to Farsight. What? Where is Farsight? Be the first to traverse the galactic void. Your grandfather and we are cut off. So we don't know what Director Hale was going to say about our grandfather. Launch sequence initiated. Communications lost. Life support has failed across the base. So it appears everybody's dead. Or going to be dead at least, except for us. Final calculations have not yet completed. But an approximate solution is in place. And continue to use the mining cannons. So now we're just cycling down. And if you ever want to, you can go back to all these previous ADA briefings and see all of those. This here is the in-mission recorder that you can use. It's a nice way to sort of, particularly for speed runs, or if you had particular problems with the map, you can record on this and then upload it and people can take a look at it and see what maybe you could have done better. But it looks like this is more of a prologue than anything else. Other than following very basic instructions and getting some story, there hasn't been a whole lot for us to do in this initial mission. And now we need to initiate the jump. And there it is. And we missed this. Taken shelter in the underground cavern. So, is that Hale sending that communique? I would assume so, but it could have been somebody else. They're alive. Some people are alive somewhere, presumably for some length of time, and we don't know that happened because we already left. So we can see the recent times. We can submit scores here. We'll pass on all of that. And now we come back here, and Farsight will be next for us. But first up, you notice these icons here. Those indicate, like, green is what you've completed, that particular objective on that mission. There are multiple objectives or win conditions on some of the others. But I want to take a look at one more thing that you can actually do on this opening mission. Beginning at the point where you move the Rift Lab here to the central plateau, and it wants you to move the cannons into defensive position, there is an Easter egg available here by doing things the suicidally stupid route. For example, you need to move your Rift Lab into the Creeper and just allow it to be destroyed. That actually unlocks a harder path to winning this particular mission. It's not advised, but it's there as a possibility. I'm not going to show the whole bit here. If you want to see it played out, there's the demo version of it down in the demo playlist in the description. The video is Easter egg hunt close to the end of that playlist. But as we wait for this to be destroyed, there's a couple other UI things worth looking at. The top view here. You can just view it from very much a top down and then click it again to go back to normal. We can adjust the size of the minimap if we wish. There's also the mission recorder. And this just gives you an overview, a fast-paced overview of how the mission proceeds if you decide to record this. And the way to sort of analyze this is you can see throughout a mission the Creeper advancing or going back, where you're able to stop it. So if you had a hard time with a mission but somebody else was able to complete it fairly routinely, you could compare the recorders from the two people and get a sense of what the strategy was. It's also very useful for demonstrating speed runs if you got a particularly good time. So that can be useful for learning how to play better. Meanwhile, we are sitting here. Let's speed this up and get ourselves blown up a little bit faster. You can see the red dots disappearing, showing our health. And there it goes. Failure actually was an option and you took it. Welcome to an alternate reality. Cannons and mortars are unlocked sooner than they would normally be. We've got to rematerialize the Rift Lab and reclaim the map. And essentially how that works is there's the delegate in place of the inhibitor. Unlike the inhibitor, you can't move it, and also unlike the inhibitor, it does not grow trees on your Soylent to very slowly increase your energy. So that makes this very slightly harder, I think, than it was in the demo. But on the other hand, you did get more cannons to start with, so it actually might be easier. In any case, you would have to reclaim a certain amount of terrain from the creeper before that reclaim objective fires. And that is it for the first mission of Creeper World 4. Be back soon with Farsight. Till then, thanks for watching.